In this video, I will point out a key difference between the find function and the match function when used in an array formula. So, the question for this exercise is how many animals from the animal list are found within the sentences over here. We have 5 sentences. So we have 182 animals, and at the top here we have only 5 sentences. But the thing is, that question is a little bit misleading. Do we mean to say that we want to find how many unique animals are found within here, or just how many animals in total? Because if you look at this, you'll notice that the word bear, even though it's plural here, but we still see B-E-A-R in this cell, the 3rd sentence, and in the 4th sentence we also find the word bear. That's the difference between the find approach and the match approach. Here we see 7 and here we see 6. So let's just take a look at what the find function does on its own when it's not an array formula. It's looking for a single value within a single text. Not within a range of cells, but only within one cell. Now, the match function is looking for a single value, but it's looking within a range. And if it finds it, it stops. So that's kind of a hint for what I'm going to show you in a minute here. So here is our first array formula. And if we look inside of here, the main thing is the find function. We have what we're looking for and where we're looking for it. So actually on both sides we have multiple values now. Now the transpose function is just necessary because we can't have both of the find text and within text being the same direction, either both vertical or both horizontal. So transposing it basically flips it from vertical, in this case, to horizontal. So if I now highlight the find function and I press the F9 key, you see that it produces a whole bunch of errors. But there are some values that aren't errors, a little bit hard to see, but there are a few numbers in here. Let's try to find one. So here's a number 3, and over to the right off the screen here I see the number 20 and another number 3. So we know that it is finding some of these animals within the sentences. So now what do we do with all these errors and a few numbers, 7 different numbers? Well, we want to put the isNumber function around this whole thing so that we get true or false. The errors would be false and the numbers will give us a true, like this. And then we want to say, well, we can't add up true and false, so we want to add a 0 or multiply by 1 to transform those true and false values into 1 and 0. And in the end, all we're going to get, I'll show you here if I just highlight this part, all this feeds into the sum function. I press the F9 key and a whole bunch of zeros and a few ones are in there, and there's one of them, and we get the answer of 7. And as I mentioned earlier, that 7 includes the bear twice. Now, let's look at the match function. We're doing a couple different things here. We're looking for not just the word, not just these values, but I'm saying, because we know we're not going to find each single value matching exactly one of these cells in that range. Here's our lookup array or lookup range, but I'm using the wildcard before the value. Imagine this is looping through each one. Anything in B12, which is aardvark, and anything, is it in that cell? Now that one's not found, but eventually you'll say, okay, anything to the left and a chipmunk and anything to the right is in this cell. So that's what the wildcard does. It's around each of the single values looking within this range. But the difference is that as soon as the match function finds the animal, it stops. It doesn't look for it. It doesn't continue looking for it. So when it finds the bear in the 3rd sentence, it doesn't even look at the 4th or the 5th sentences because it's found it and it stops. That's what match function does. It finds the value, basically the index number or the position of the lookup value within a range. So what's similar here to the find is that I have the isNumber. So the match gives us a whole bunch of errors and a few numbers where it's found. If we drag this down far enough, we'll see a few numbers on the right hand side actually. So once again, I'm using the sum function to simply add up all the ones, and the zeros don't affect it, so we get the answer of 6.